Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant hump day Wednesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan on a Wildcat Wednesday, brought to you by Northern Michigan University, where it's even getting warm in the Upper Peninsula on the 2nd of March. It's founded in 1899 as a teacher college, but now a dynamic four-year public coeducational university with just under 10,000 students in the UP. It's safe, it's clean, it's friendly, and a natural environment there in Marquette. And we'll be actually talking to a Northern Michigan University grad a little bit later, Craig Godfrey from Godfrey Weisberg, CPAs and Advisors. We're getting close to tax time, ladies and gentlemen. He will tell us about the little exemptions that you forgot about that can save you some money. So stay tuned for Craig Godfrey a little bit later. Anchorman Gary Austin is with us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Anchorman.
I am. And you know what? Well, we were sleeping. You know what was happening overseas?
What happened?
Oil prices just went through the roof. And you think we're paying a lot for gasoline now. Hang on to your wallets and purses, folks, because we haven't seen nothing yet. $116 a barrel now. That's what it's trading at. And, boy, the analysts are saying this is just the beginning. And I don't know. This gas price situation, we could easily top $4 a gallon here, maybe even by spring at this rate.
Over $4 a gallon again?
Very possible.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and then $5 by summertime is what Summer's saying.
$5 a gallon?
No end in sight. I mean, that's what Summer's saying. You never know. Let's hope not. But we're heading in that direction. Certainly there are no indicators, Michael Patrick, that things are going in the other direction at this point.
My word. Well, dogs and cats were peaceful together yesterday, and the sun came up in the west. Did you know that? Do you know why that happened?
I can't imagine.
Yeah, because President Obama and the Republican Speaker of the House, John Boehner, talked on the phone.
They're getting along better.
It seems like
That's
maybe
good.
they're collaborating. It's the budget crisis.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the federal budget crisis. And the White House press secretary, Jay Carney, who used to work for Time Magazine, called it a productive chat. Here's what he said.
It was about a 10 to 12-minute phone call, a good phone call, and you will ask, but I will not divulge any more details about that phone call.
Oh, come on, Mr. Carney. What did they talk about on that telephone? Tell us, what was the discussion?
The president made a phone call to Speaker of the House, John Boehner, to discuss the progress being made on the negotiations for a continuing resolution.
Budget issues, you're saying, is what they were talking about, right?
We believe some progress has been made. We believe that there is a focus in Congress now on cuts that we all can agree on.
The economic recovery is very fragile, though. Does that register in the president's mind?
If $4 billion in cuts over 2 weeks is acceptable, that the $8 billion over 4 or 5 weeks is something that we could agree on.
Well, we're going to get a short-term extension anyway, so the government doesn't shut down at the end of the week, right, Mr. Carney?
The president remains confident that we can find common ground.
Okay.
To avoid a shutdown that nobody wants.
There they are. That's what they talked about.
All right. Glad to hear. No shutdown, at least not yet. How about the big three? These new sales numbers are out.
Cars are selling again?
They're selling like hotcakes,
Oh, yeah.
as they say. Did you know General Motors, a sizable increase when compared to last year at this time, sales up 46%. How about that? Over at Ford, a jump of 23%. And analysts say at Chrysler, sales up 13%. So for the big three, pluses across the board. That's great.
Well, I'm driving this 2008 Chevy Trailblazer right now,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I stopped to get a coffee this morning at Quality Dairy, and when I drive this car, I'm test driving it for Hyundai of Lansing, and it's a Chevy Trailblazer 2008. I had it washed yesterday. It looks great. It's right in front of our Gillespie Group storefront studio. It's black on the outside and ebony on the inside, and this guy says to me, "Oh, freshly stolen car, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, not stolen. I'm test driving it for Hyundai of Lansing, and it's at $18,795, which is about $4,000 under the Blue Book value. So it's a pre-owned vehicle, and lots of pre-owned vehicles are being sold now too because people, they're cost sensitive. And I swear, when you get in this car, it feels like a brand new car. And if you want it, just go to HyundaiofLansing.com or go on out and visit Cheryl Freeborough or come down here to the studio. You can read all the specs are on it and the stickers right on the window. So it's less than Blue Book value by $4,000, a Chevy Trailblazer. And she's got lots of other cars like that, too. So that will be happy news for Hyundai of Lansing and Cheryl Freeborough and all the dealers that we have in the state of Michigan. Car sales are up.
Very good. Hey, do you know who may be leaving us?
Maybe leaving us.
Maybe leaving us. Grand Rapids School Superintendent Bernard Taylor, nothing official yet.
Oh, I heard something about that.
Yeah, he's been eyeing a new gig in Syracuse, New York, and he says that district, if he did make the move, would offer some new challenges for him. He likes that sort of thing. He's been heading things up in GR for about 5 years now, and he was in Syracuse yesterday talking to the folks there. There are 2 in the running. Out of all the folks who are in the running for this job, they've narrowed the hunt down to 2, and Bernard Taylor, Grand Rapids School Superintendent, is one of them. And word has it we could know maybe by the end of this week whether or not he gets tapped for that top job in Syracuse. We'll
Hey, you know what? The image of Michigan continues to take a little bit of a beating, a big beating. Now, we thought we turned things around on the... Well, we thought we turned things around on the Super Bowl commercial, right? Where they said imported from Detroit and everybody felt proud and all that. Glenn Beck. You heard of Glenn Beck?
Oh, you know, he's on some of our radio stations.
Yeah, he's got a TV show, too, on I think he's on Fox.
Yep, the conservatives love him.
Well, here's what he said yesterday about Detroit, the city of Detroit.
I want to show you this city. Tell me what city you think this is. You recognize it? I'll give you one clue, and you won't believe it. It's a city that, rumor had it, would be uninhabitable for centuries to come because of radiation. This is Hiroshima. August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb completely destroyed almost 70% of the buildings. And by the end of the year, up to 140,000 had died. Look at the city then. Almost half of the city's population in total died. Some 200,000 or more would eventually die from the effects. Now, look at Hiroshima today. It's not the wreckage. What happened? Well, people decided that they weren't going to allow their city to be destroyed forever. Yes, the government came in and helped rebuild the city, but what else could have rebuilt from that destruction? They needed help from the government, but it was the people embracing the free market system that revitalized Hiroshima. Now, it's Hiroshima. Let me show you another city. Here's a city that when Hiroshima looked like it did in destruction, this city looked like this. It was thriving. It's Detroit, Michigan. But take a look at Detroit today. One city embraced the free market system and the entrepreneurial spirit. The other embraced progressive policies and corrupt government and unions and companies that weren't allowed to fail, and they should have failed because they stunk on ice. They begged for a bailout and got one, and the union bosses did their share too. Whereas Hiroshima has nearly quadrupled in size since the attack. Not so much with Detroit. Less than 50% of Detroit's peak population of 1.8 million in 1950 still live in the city. 36% of Detroit's residents live in poverty. Detroit's poverty rate is more than double than that as the entire U.S. as a whole. 81% of Detroit's public school students qualified for free and reduced price lunches in 2009. 81%. As far as education, about 42% of Detroit's public school students don't even graduate. Half.
How about that, Gary Austin?
Wow, I don't know. It's pretty scathing there. On the upside, we should note here, did you know we are seeing some positive trends coming out of Detroit and involving the technical sector? We've got a new study out this morning.
You're going to tell us something good after he told us that?
Well, yeah, but here, listen to this now. Right. Metro Detroit, the country's fastest growing region for technology jobs last month. 820 openings in tech jobs compared with 400 in February. So you add it all up, Detroit is looking good when it comes to the technology sector. So on the upside, why not? Hey, we've got a new survey out.
Is it good? We want to hear something good.
Yeah, this is unique.
Tell us something good.
You were talking about this a few weeks ago, the issue involving moose in the UP, a new study out. Overall, the population is up. Now, this is tied into...
You're telling us something good, right?
Yeah, I guess. You know, some say we ought to hunt moose, be able to do that up in the UP there. And the population is growing, but not by much, according to the study. At issue, should moose hunting be allowed? Officials say it looks like the growth is slowing, but it's hard to tell if the trend will continue. Lawmakers, you remember, approved a plan that clears the way for natural resources commissioners to set up a moose hunt Nothing
That's
is.
that. You know what? That's not good for the moose. That's good for the hunters.
It's not. Now, nothing is official yet, but
All
a
right.
group is in place now. A state group is in place studying this.
Well,
So, it's latest.
we want listeners and viewers right now to tell us something good. Brag on your kids. Tell us that you got the raise you wanted. Tell us something you think is good in the news. Tell us something good right now. The lines are open at 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. Good news, please, right now. Tell me something good. Tell me something good. Well, I asked you to tell us something good. We like good news on this program. And the number is 888-900-9966. That's 888-900-9966. Tell us something good, if you would, please. If you're watching on Fox 47 or listening on radio stations all across the state of Michigan, George in Battle Creek is ringing in. He wants to tell us something good at 888-900-9966. Good morning, George.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. Well, last weekend I had the privilege of attending the state MASHAA wrestling finals in Battle Creek here, and the St. John Red Wings from up there north of your area reigned as state champions for the second time in a row, capping off a perfect 32-0 season. To watch the people from St. John's get excited and cheering on their boys is amazing.
That is a tough sport, isn't it?
It's an individual sport, yet it's a team sport. It's hard to imagine. You've got the whole other people who aren't wrestling and the coach down there in chairs a few feet from where that individual's out there competing with another individual from a different school, and the coach, the team, and everybody in the crowd is cheering on both contenders.
And the pressure is on, right? You don't want to let your team down, and you don't want to let yourself down.
The wrestlers and the fans did St. John's proud.
All right, congratulations, and thank you very much. George in Battle Creek told us something good at 888-900-9966. You can tell us something good, too. We'd love to hear from you. Now, don't be shy. You know, if your son won the soccer game, or your husband got a raise, or, you got a job that you've been trying to get for a long time now, or anything, tell us something good. You bought a new car that you like. That would be good news, not only for you, but for the dealer and for the auto industry in general. Scott Komar is with us, the general manager at Harold Ziegler Chrysler Dodge Jeep. He's going to tell us something good this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, the auto industry put out some pretty good numbers yesterday. So, it looks like that a lot of that was led by truck sales, which hopefully is something good. And that means that as people going back to work using those trucks.
Auto sales up by double digits for the big three automakers. Sales at General Motors, for instance, 46%. 46% over February last year. The Buick division alone jumped 73%. Ford Motor Company, vehicle purchases were up 14% compared with the same month last year. The Fusion had record sales increase of 40%. And the Chrysler LLC officials reported Ram truck sales, get this, 81% over last year. The total U.S. sales, 13% in February. Now, that's all terrific. We're hearing this morning that the gas prices are creeping back up again. Could be over $4 a gallon come spring. Would that put a real crimp in this good trend?
No, I don't think it will, because a lot of what's changed since the last time gas prices affected us. There's a lot more fuel-efficient cars out there. A lot of the things you just mentioned, the Fusion and a lot of the things coming out of Chevy. And, Chrysler was led by those Ram truck sales, but we also have a tremendous amount of new cars out that are 30 miles per gallon plus. And we didn't have those cars before. And these are all great quality cars by everybody. So I don't think you're going to see a crimp in it. You just might see a different type of car being bought.
Well, keep the good news rolling then, says Scott Komar, the general manager of Harold Ziegler Chrysler Dodge Jeep in the Grand Rapids area. He's telling us something good. By the way, you might be curious to know, how did that Super Bowl ad result in sales for Chrysler, the Chrysler 200? Well, we're 22 days away from that now. A modest 2,319 vehicles were sold in February. During the same month a year ago, Chrysler sold 3,160 of the Chrysler 200s. The Sebring was the one before that, actually. So what happens now? Well, I guess we'll see what happens. It's in ramp-up mode, is what Chrysler is saying about the Chrysler 200. And you might have thought they've been flying off the shelves because the commercial was so well received. But it's still in ramp-up mode. is what we're hearing. 29 minutes after the hour. You tell us something good at 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966 is the number to call. The Senate Democrats and Minority Leader Gretchen Whitmer, the Democrat from East Lansing, sent out a fundraising email to help fight budget cuts and tax increases in Governor Rick Snyder's budgets. We will talk with Senator Gretchen Whitmer in this studio coming up later this morning and find out what that email said and what she thinks about the budget proposal in general. And there's some squabbling, I guess, going on in the Senate. We'll find out what that's all about, too. It has to do with Senator Rick Jones, who is a Republican. It is 30 minutes after the hour right now. Let me get you a touch of sports, if you would. Tonight, the Michigan State Spartans are going to be playing at the Breslin Center at 6:30 against Iowa. Michigan State leads that series 62-52, and this is a must-win game for the Spartans if they are to have any dreams of making the NCAA tournament. Pistons couldn't hold on to a 3-point lead after the third quarter. They lost to the Bucks 92-90 in Milwaukee, where Rodney Stuckey had 25 points. Pistons are coming back to the Palace to host the Minnesota Timberwolves. That'll be tonight. What happened to the Tigers yesterday? Now, they've been winning these preseason Grapefruit League games one after another, so much so that they doubled down yesterday. They had a split squad, so one of the team went and played the Phillies, half of the team went and played the Blue Jays, and both Tiger teams won, and they both won 6-2. Isn't that terrific? Against Toronto, Miguel Cabrera went 1 for 4, but he hit a 3-run double in the third inning. He's going to make his first base debut for the Tigers today. They host the Astros in Lakeland this afternoon. The University of Detroit Mercy will move on in the Horizon League tournament. They beat Loyola Chicago last night in Callahan Hall. And since I spent some of my academic career at the University of Detroit, I'm happy about that. Red Wings continue their 5-game road trip. They've got to stop in Anaheim tonight, facing off against the Ducks. Red Wings have won 2 straight, and so we'll see how that all shakes out. Ohio State, the top-ranked basketball team in the nation, 82-61 win at Penn State. No doubt they are one tough Buckeye. And former slugger Barry Bonds pled not guilty Tuesday to lying to a federal grand jury about the use of steroids. Carrie in Holt is going to tell us something good this morning at 888-900-9966. Good morning, Carrie.
Hi.
Got something good for us?
I sure do.
Tell us something good.
Spring is here because Sweet Sensations Ice Cream Shop is open.
Yeah, that means it's really spring, isn't it?
It sure is.
Amanda Wall, you go there a lot?
I do. It was around the corner from my house growing up.
Oh, so you could walk there all the time?
Yeah. If I ever had to ride the bus, we'd kind of go the long way around when you'd walk home, and you'd always stop and get a ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Save your lunch money and then go.
Sweet Sensations?
Yeah.
And what was your what's your choice? What's your tipple when it comes to ice cream?
Ooh, the Snicker Parfait was probably the best.
Snicker Parfait. They still have those, Carrie, at Sweet Sensations?
We sure do.
Oh, yeah. So is that a place where there's a window, or you walk inside?
Walk up.
It's a walk up. So you really believe that spring is here if you're going to open the window like that.
Oh yes, and I was busy yesterday.
Oh, I bet. It just makes people feel good to have ice cream again, doesn't it?
It sure is.
Now, what about it? When you're working in an ice cream store, isn't it tough to do you get sick of ice cream, or do you have it all the time?
I'm going to tell you, I've had the business for 33 years, and I'm still eating ice cream.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't know how you could ever get tired of such a great thing. I'll never forget Tim McGuire, the executive director of the Michigan Association of Counties. One time, I was talking about ice cream on the air with somebody from Breyers, I think it was, and we were talking about what the favorite flavors of ice cream were. And he called me later that day, and he said, "Thanks a lot." I said, "Why?" He says, "I'm listening to your show at 9 in the morning. I'm driving to a meeting. I'm hearing all this about ice cream, and I had to pull over and get a waffle cone before I went to the meeting at 9 in the morning." So the power of suggestion when it comes to ice cream is very strong.
You're right on that.
Well, we'll come out and see you sometime. Thanks for that terrific news. Again, the name of the place is
Sweet Sensations.
Sweet Sensations, and where is it?
In Holt.
In Holt. Easy to find, Amanda? What street is it? Is it near the Crystal Bar?
It's kind of kitty corner from
Okay.
the Crystal Bar.
All right, you get the 1-2 punch then.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We'll make a...
Bring your beer over, and we'll make you a cooler.
Oh, you know what? You laugh about that, right? But that's not such a bad thing.
No, I know.
Sounds pretty good. A beer cooler. I'm going to do it. The Crystal Bar and Sweet Sensations. It'll be a real daily double. Well, happy spring to you, Carrie.
Thank Thank you.
Thanks for telling us something good at 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Tell us something good. I got some good news for you coming in 4 minutes. More jobs for the state of Michigan in a snazzy announcement by a major corporation, an entertainment corporation. You looking for a job? Stay tuned. We might have one for you in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Well, the Beige Book is released today at 2 o'clock. What is that? It's a report on the current economic conditions that the Fed relies on during its monthly meeting to set the interest rate and monetary policy. So while you're getting your kids' report cards right about now, the Fed's getting the Beige Book. And the NEA's Read Across America Day is today, too. Every child is urged to read a book today. Get your kid to read a book today, if you would, or read it with him or her. That would be a really cool way to go about it. They would agree, too, at Northern Michigan University, where this is a Wildcat Wednesday brought to you by that august school. 2 children are in protective custody after they were found living in a shed with their mother behind their former home in northwest Detroit. The woman and the 2 girls, both are under the age of 6, were discovered in the shed in the backyard of a foreclosed home. That was on Shiawassee and Salem on Monday night. Can you imagine how sad that must have been? Authorities say they don't know how long the 3 had been staying behind their own home in a shed. The children were in good condition. It's not known if the mother will face charges, but how could she face charges? They were kicked out of their house. What were they supposed to do? Can you imagine living in what was your own backyard in the shed of your house? Tell us something good, on the other hand, this morning at 888-900-9966. Are you ready to get your Vegas on? Because there's some good news coming from the Battle Creek area, where Firekeepers Casino has been open for, about a year and a half now. And Homer Mandaka is with us, the Tribal Council Chairman for the Nottawasapi Band of Huron and Potawatomi. And it's good news that you have for us this morning, too, isn't it, sir?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Michael Patrick. I have some great news to deliver. Firekeepers Casino is going into phase 2 of our construction phase for our hotel experience with us. We're going to build a hotel with 242 rooms, resort-style complex.
Right there. Where will it be? Sort of behind the casino, between the freeway and the casino?
Yes, we're looking at the casino project, and if you look to the west side of the building, it'll be attached to the casino floor, and but it'll be just on the west side.
Okay, so the thing about Firekeepers is it's very easy to get to. You can see it off of I-94, and it's where 69, if you take 69 from Lansing, for instance, it's less than an hour. If you come from Grand Rapids, it's just over an hour. You can get there easily because it's all freeway. So you take 69, for instance, to 94, you get off the exit, and the casino is right there. And this is going to dramatically sort of change the skyline of that exit, if you will, that freeway exit. How many stories will the hotel be?
The hotel is going to be 8 stories.
And how long will it take to build?
Well, we're waiting for our construction manager, Clark Company, to get a schedule for us, and that should take about 60 days, and then we can make that announcement then.
Okay, and how many jobs will a hotel add to your plan there?
The hotel for operations is going to be approximately 400 jobs to the area.
Look at that, isn't that terrific? And you already employ how many at the casino?
1,500 jobs.
Yeah, so you're going to add another 400. And this is going to be terrific for people, because coming from outside of Michigan, for instance, who want to stay overnight, or coming from the Detroit area, or from Traverse City, or from Mount Pleasant, who want to come down there, have a good time, see some of the entertainment, and enjoy the hotel. I mean, that's good for pure Michigan, too, because we'll have more tourists in the state.
Oh, certainly. We want to enhance that experience with the entertainment industry and make Firekeepers a casino of choice. And, it'll be a great opportunity for us.
Is there a hotel that you looked at that you like so much that you will model after?
Really? No, I can't say anything in particular. It came out of our membership through our elders. We sat down and just said we want our own unique design.
So how can you describe what it will, sort of the tone of it, what the style will be like, and bearing in mind that we're on 12 radio stations and 1 TV station?
really what we're looking for is the lights to complement the gaming floor with the excitement and that vibrant, clear energy that the customer can experience and share in. And you're going to see a lot of the same theming carry over to the hotel resort. And it's going to be gorgeous. We're still working on some of the schematics, but I really am impressed with the direction that it's going.
So we'll be able to get our Vegas on at the hotel and the casino then. It'll be the same theme.
Yes.
Terrific.
We're also going to offer a seating capacity for 2,000 people at an event center. That can also go concert and be changed over and do business conferences. So,
Terrific.
I mean, it's going to have that part, and it's going to be exciting.
Well, congratulations. And I understand you're giving away a house?
Yes, March 31st. Come on down to Firekeepers Casino, and we're going to have the grand prize drawing. It's a house plus $25,000.
A house and 20. What more could you ask for than that? A house, and you can put the house anywhere you want in the state?
Yes.
So you get to build a home anywhere you want, courtesy of Firekeepers. Boy, that's some pretty exciting stuff. Thank you so much, and for helping us get our Vegas on this morning, and for telling us something good.
That's great. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. We'll be in touch along the way on the details as they become available of this hotel, and it's March 31st that you can win a house at Firekeepers Casino. They continue to be creative, and we're grateful that they can bring more people to the state of Michigan and let them experience the excitement of this state, too. Winter, summer, spring, and fall. 14 before the hour, it's Michael Patrick Shields back in a flash with some news out of Ireland on the month of St. Patrick's Day. Stay tuned. Span the world right now, in fact, with Connor Canine. He's in Chicago. You can find him at irishmanspeaks.com. He's a multiple-time author and business consultant, too, and a friend of the program indeed. Good morning to you, sir. Connor, are you there? Connor going once.
Hear me?
There you are. Can we hear you well enough?
Hear you okay? You okay?
Okay, yeah, that's good. Are you in Ireland or Chicago or the moon?
I'm in Chicago, my man, just thinking about Ireland and the general election and the problems they've got over there.
Will you tell us what happened? There was an election. It was a two-part election. I understand some of the islands got to vote first, and then the rest of the island voted on Friday. What happened, and what does it mean?
Well, up to just last week, the largest party in Ireland was a party known as Fianna Fáil, and they historically have been in power for maybe around 61 of the last 79 years, Michael Patrick. You're familiar with Irish history, and they've been dominant, but they will be seen by most of the Irish population as being responsible for the desperate mess that Ireland is in now. So really they suffered something like a major wipeout over the last couple of days, and they had previously 77 seats in Parliament and in the Irish Parliament. They've now been reduced to 20 seats, and a party that dominated Irish history has effectively been wiped out, and most people are saying good riddance to them.
I guess it's the same as it was for President Clinton when you hear people say it's the economy, stupid. If you really want to get someone's attention, mess with their money, right?
Absolutely, and the thing with the Irish Fianna Fáil party was that they were stupid with the economy, Michael Patrick. That's the different thing. They ignored advice. It's becoming more and more obvious from the Irish Department of Finance, the civil service as such, and in terms of being showing a bit more fiscal rectitude. And effectively what has happened now is we've got a country where 1 in 7 people are unemployed. We've got 1 in 10 people who are in some kind of trouble with their mortgages, and the Irish economy is suffering really dreadful problems. And whoever's going to get in, and the party that will get in, our new Prime Minister will be a guy called Enda Kenny. We spoke last week about Rahm Emanuel having a poisoned chalice here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Enda Kenny is going to wonder why did he ever take this job, but someone has to do it, obviously.
That's the person referred to as the Taoiseach?
Yeah, the Taoiseach that's the Irish word for Prime Minister. It's an Irish word that means leader or chieftain, and within the Irish Parliament, then he is known as the Taoiseach. So if you want to take the correct pronunciation, would I take a cup of tea and it might give you an electric shock? So Taoiseach.
Taoiseach. That's a
Yeah.
good way to remember it.
That's a good way to remember it, yeah.
So Brian Cowen was the previous Taoiseach, right? And he was controversial from the day he took office.
He was, he was an immensely capable individual, I think, but so are most politicians, I think. But they ran into a situation where I think the best way I could put it, Michael Patrick, is that the analogy I've used a few times is that they learn, it's as if someone learned how to drive a car, and then they learned how to drive it faster and faster, and they realized they could buy another car that could go even faster. And let's ignore the speed signs and let's ignore the road signs, but we can get another car that will go faster. And eventually it went off the road and damaged not just the car, but all of the infrastructure around it as well.
Do you know the lesson in it too? To me, is that Ireland was the envy of the world, the Celtic tiger when it came to the economy.
Right, and Ireland will be the envy of the world again, Michael Patrick. I mean, it's a wonderful country to visit, as you know, and I know you're going over there for Paddy's Day. There's great hospitality, a great atmosphere, and a great welcome for American people. And really what we need to do now is to get that message out. We need to create jobs over there, which is obviously going to be a challenge. But Ireland is a very well-educated country.
Doesn't Ireland have the situation, too, in terms of service, that they give away a lot of the service jobs to Eastern Europeans in the hotels and so forth? You find lots of Polish people working service jobs. Is that because the Irish don't want to do them?
Well, it wasn't necessarily a case of giving them away, Michael Patrick. That was a matter of supply and demand. I mean, right now we've got 14% unemployment. But 5 years ago, we had the lowest unemployment rate in the European Union because there was such a wonderful economy and a vibrant economy. So the lesser jobs probably were being taken by people who came from poorer countries, Poland, Lithuania, etc. So obviously now what's happening is a lot of the Poles and Lithuanians are emigrating back to their own homeland, and the Irish will take any jobs anywhere at the moment. And it's still a high-cost economy, but it's a wonderfully welcoming economy.
Right. Thank you very much, Conor Cunneen, with a report on the new Irish Taoiseach, the new Prime Minister of Ireland, and the new government. You see that? The voters can make change when they want to, and they made wholesale change in Ireland, wiping out the party that's had the majority since the 1930s. It's the economy, stupid, is what they say. Conor Cunneen can be found at irishmanspeaks.com, and he can teach you how to find a job. That's his specialty, whether you're in Ireland or the United States. He lives in Chicago. irishmanspeaks.com can help you find a job. You want to find a job in the movie business? It might be tougher in Michigan now if the governor and his proposal to sort of cut back the tax rebate on the movie business goes into effect. Jeff Daniels, the world-famous actor who lives here in Michigan, will join us when we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields on Hump Day Wednesday. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant morning to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, and if you look at the list of his films, we would be here all morning reading off films like Terms of Endearment, The Purple Rose of Cairo, Heartburn, Something Wild, Arachnophobia, Dumb and Dumber, Gettysburg, Speed, 101 Dalmatians, and so many more. You would know that we're talking about Jeff Daniels, but that's not what you would think of. You wouldn't think of Hollywood. First, you would think of Chelsea and the town that he loves, that he lives in, and where he would have worked in a lumber yard if he hadn't gone into acting. Let's not forget, too, Woody Allen's Purple Rose of Cairo, that film that gave the name to his theater there, too, in Chelsea, Michigan. And he was a Chippewa before he left to go into show business, and he's on the other end of our line this morning. Jeff Daniels, what a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks, Michael.
Back when I was at CMU in 1985, I was creeping through Moore Hall on my way back to the radio station.
I've crept through Moore Hall a few times.
Yeah. And I was coming out of there, the 91 Rock FM is what it was called back there, and there was a little theater, and I said, what's going on in there? And I peeked in there, and you were sitting in the middle of the theater in the round talking to students, and I said, my God, there's Flap. And I didn't interrupt the class, but I hid in the back, and I listened to it, and I'll never forget that moment. And when you go back to CMU, what's your message to the students?
Well, the primary message is that you don't have to be from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts or Yale or Juilliard Performing Arts School in New York City to make it. You can be from Central Michigan University. It's just about your talent, your drive, and your ambition, And if you go to a place like Central or wherever, do you come out better than you went in? And if you do, then keep chasing it. That's usually the message.
Your situation in Michigan now, you used to say you have to go west, young man, set out to Hollywood if you're going to make it big. And now we saw ourselves in a situation where some people were getting exposed to Hollywood right here in Michigan because of the film tax credit, 43%. Right, you know, we're used to having Jeff Daniels in Michigan because you're nice enough to live here, but we started seeing people like George Clooney and Richard Gere and all the rest here making movies. Now we hear that that incentive may go away or at least be reduced significantly, and that you had a meeting with the governor about this before he announced his budget proposal, which included the cuts. And in that meeting, apparently, you got the idea that Rick Snyder was not going to do away with the film tax credits, and you're quoted as saying, "It's really disheartening. It's not what he told me privately, so to be honest, I guess he's a politician after all. Say one thing, do another."
Yeah.
So Governor Snyder was with us last week, and we read that quotation to him on the program, and here was his reaction.
That's not accurate. I mean, he might not have heard me the right way, because I don't want to get a match going back and forth over those things, but I didn't misrepresent anything. I talked about how we're in a challenging financial situation, and that we would look at it, because my goal wasn't to simply end it that cold, but have a dialogue with people, and I talked to several people. But if you look at what we did in the budget, we scaled back tax credits dramatically for everyone. So it wasn't aimed just at the film industry.
So what's your reaction to what the governor said, that your assessment of your conversation was not accurate?
Well, it was accurate. And, what he said to me was, I don't want to kill it. And then what he did in Lansing in his proposal, which is not the budget, the proposal was, in essence, he killed it. So my responsibility, as I see it, as a resident and citizen of the state of Michigan, is, and as someone who is constantly come up to by people, Michigan residents who work in the state, who are affected by the film industry in a positive way, both on movie sets and in all those businesses around the movie sets that supply the movies, that get business because of the movies being here. I have a responsibility to those people. Those people were told to, many of whom were on movie sets and involved in the industry, were told to retrain themselves and reinvent themselves. Well, they did. And so the governor, who is doing exactly what he said he was going to do, which is shared sacrifice model, is basically destroying an industry. It's a thriving industry. It brings in and creates a lot of money and a lot of jobs. So I spoke up, but I will continue to do so.
Is the uncertainty now in Michigan, what will happen? As you say, it's a proposal, not the final budget. There's a negotiating room.
And I think Rick will be the first one to say that. Mm-hmm. And that's the governor I sat with, the guy who's going, it's a, he's right. Let's not get into a back and forth. But I got the impression that it's a process. And now the state legislature weighs in. And I have a feeling that the governor I sat with cares, gets it, and understands all of these, issues I just talked about. I think he'll move on this particular issue because it's so, good for business and good for Michigan workers. Yes, it costs money for the state. We have to invest in our own people. But I think he gets that. And I think, standing in Lansing and doing his proposal is one thing. I think the budget and where the governor will be at the end of this is another.
At the same time, I asked him, sitting right here, I said, if you could push the button on this budget proposal and have it go through as is, would you do it? And he said, yes, it'll work just fine.
For him.
Also negotiating, though, right?
Well, I don't know, for him.
Away.
But, that's, he could push the button on it and delete other people's lives. Sure, absolutely.
If it is a big negotiating ploy that it won't end up the way he has it now, isn't the uncertainty enough to keep people from booking pictures here for the summer and next fall and beyond? Are they already streaming to the exits?
Yeah, they are. They're calling Louisiana and Georgia and New Mexico. I mean, I talked to my agent. He said they're in pre-production and it's affecting jobs there, and they're not going to wait to see if they get on the list. They're going to go somewhere else. And good for Louisiana, Georgia, and New Mexico, and anybody else that wants to have the business, you know. Look, he's got big problems, big financial problems, and I would just like to think, with the help of the state legislature, there is a middle ground, you know, not just let's get rid of it.
Well, what do you think would be an acceptable middle ground for Hollywood? You know better than
I
we
don't
do.
know. That's for people who are much smarter on the numbers than I am. I think 3 years ago, we had to be very, very aggressive to get, you know, near the top, if not the top of the list, for people coming to the state with their films. I think the economy, while still struggling here, is better. I think we can reduce the percentage. I think the cap. This is where others, you know, who are more involved in the numbers would argue, and I defer to them. But $25 million starting in October isn't going to do it. I think that there needs to be, you know, more money available under that cap, and the percentage can come down. I think even for movies that hire Michigan people. But, you know, let's still be in the game. We have too many people that are affected, too many young people that are staying here because of this particular industry. So I'd like to, you know, have some you know, people on both sides who are willing to find whatever that middle ground is versus, you know, where we are now.
When we were aggressive initially and the movie makers started to discover Michigan, did they find that we were a quality location, not just somebody throwing a bunch of money at them?
Yeah, I mean, you'll always get the people that think, you know, oh, great, let's go where we can get the most, you know, $1 more, let's go to Michigan. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the things they find is the work ethic. You get these people that know how to do a day's work. They're professional. They're motivated, and I think too, with Michigan going through what it went through, with all the downsizing in the guess what, you're laid off. All those, you know, notices that went out on Fridays all over the last few years. Their people are very grateful, very gratified, appreciative of this new opportunity, and they want to be involved, and they want to show these people who, you know, a lot of them will come in here thinking we're idiots. Mm-hmm. But they want to show that we aren't. And I think, like Gary Gilbert's a producer, and when the incentive first came in, Gary had a movie here right away, small movie, brought 80 people on his crew, and had to bring pretty much everybody because we didn't have the crews. We kind of put the incentive in place, and then we're training people as fast as we could. Mm-hmm. 3 years later, this past December, Gary had a movie here in Detroit, and his 80-person crew, 14 people he brought from out of state. The other 66 were Michigan. That's what happens. The crews get deeper, and you have 3 or 4 or 5 deep on crews at every, you know, place on the crew sheet. And then you got Grand Rapids, and then you start to get, and all of a sudden, there's a thriving industry and people who are, you know, going from job to job to job to job, because there are so many jobs, and there are enough people to support it.
Did you watch the Academy Awards Sunday night?
I tried.
You know, it was one of the lowest rated Academy Award shows ever, I understand.
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
It's always been, in my mind, it's always been a private industry event.
Yeah.
It's always been, you know, in the old days, 30s, 40s, it was a dinner. It's the Beverly Hills Hotel or something, you know. It wasn't televised. No. You know, I don't know if you've ever been to one of these industry convention functions in Orlando when, you know, say a Domino's Pizza holds their national convention in Orlando, and they bring in some people and they give, you know, the Southeast Employee Franchise of the Year award and all that. That's what it is.
Yeah, and they try to make it palatable television, and it doesn't always work. I can't thank you enough for the time, Jeff Daniels. Let's hope we find that middle ground in the movie business, and thanks for your commitment to Pure Michigan and the MEDC, too. At 19 after the hour, it's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan. 22 minutes after the hour, Michael Patrick Shields heard all across the state of Michigan, and very glad to have you with us this morning, and very glad to have Congressman Mike Rogers, the chair of the United States House Intelligence Committee. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Yeah, I just don't know where to begin with you. We have so much to talk about this morning. Let's start at home, if we could. I understand there was a phone call yesterday between the House Speaker, John Boehner, and the President of the United States. Is that all that unusual that it made that much news?
Well, it shouldn't be that unusual, but it has been unusual, unfortunately. The president has not done a great job reaching out to Republicans over the last 2 years of his run as president.
Mm-hmm. Well, he hasn't had to, right, till the midterm elections.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we didn't have we weren't very impactful by our small numbers in the House until the change last November. But I mean, the problems are so big. You would hope that we could work together on this. When the debt and what that's doing to us, and borrowing money from China, oil prices going up. I mean, there's so much that we have to do together. You would hope that maybe this is the start of a good sign coming from the president.
I somehow don't see the two of them arm in arm like at the end of Casablanca, though, saying, Louis, I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship. Do you?
Hey, you never know. Stranger things have happened. I can't imagine what they are right now, but I think stranger things have happened.
I think it was pretty funny the other day when the president was speaking to the governors, and he talked about Mitt Romney in light of the health care reform. And he said, I know we don't all agree on the health care reform, but Mitt Romney was right. And, one thing that Mitt Romney and I agree upon, and I thought, wow, he's really putting the torpedo in the side of a would-be competitor, isn't he, by continuing to purposely link Governor Romney to the health care reform?
Yeah, and I think that's something that Governor Romney, if he wants to run for president, is going to have to address. Just last year, that program caused the highest health care premiums in the country. Has $6 billion in debt last year. I mean, in other words, that state, Massachusetts, had $6 billion in deficit spending and debt spending just because of the health care bill that they proposed. So it has got some real issues. And so if the president wants to keep talking about what a great thing that is, then I say keep talking. I mean, it just I think shows the clear danger of doing this big government-run health care system.
Did you happen to see Governor Snyder when he's in Washington?
I did, yes. We actually had an opportunity to have some dinner together and chat about some issues and all the challenges that are facing the state. And I think, the good news is he's digging in and trying to do the right thing for the future of the state. That's going to benefit us all at the end of the day. In the interim, there's going to be some pain, but when we're kind of as out of whack as we are with government spending, it's going to be a little painful to get right again, and it's just kind of like going through an exercise program. That first week is just awful, but boy, you sure feel better a month from now.
Yeah, that's the hope. The second week is not much better either. And you occasionally fall off the wagon, too.
Exactly.
Tell me about it. So was it just the two of you, or did you have other members of the Michigan Republican delegation, and where did you dine?
Actually, we dined at one of the members had a little event, and so we had the governor in. It was bipartisan. We had all the members there.
Oh, I see.
And so it was not very fancy fare, but it was a great opportunity for all of us, to catch the governor and talk to him and chat with him in a more informal setting.
Oh, that's nice. It wasn't at the Palm or anything fancy like that, huh?
No, gosh, no.
But you don't.
I'll tell you, we had turkey chili, if that tells you anything.
Oh, wow. We are in real austerity then, aren't we? The Dubliner would have been a good spot, too, given that it's the month of St. Patrick's Day, but you probably...
Yeah, that's true.
Be a little bit
this is your month, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, we're counting it. We're going to broadcast the program from Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, and they've got they had a revolt there last week with the election. The party that's been in power for 70 years got slashed by more than half of their seats, all because of the economy. They got too far ahead of themselves, and I thought, well, there is the lesson. The Celtic Tiger is now, virtually upside down.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's happening everywhere. And when you look at what the complaints were in places like Libya and other places, the rally call is freedom, but it was a lot of the economics drove those decisions. And, of course, they see a place like Iraq that now had free elections, and Afghanistan, a pretty tough place with free elections. So all of that fed in, but then you take the economy, and by the way, a place like Egypt lives off government subsidies. I mean, that's how people earn their way in life, and that system doesn't work, and the weight of those systems are collapsing. And I know in Ireland they had a roar back, but they also increased lots of their government spending. And at the end of the day, that's what happens, and that's why people like me are so concerned about what we're doing, and especially in the explosion of the deficit and debt in the last 2 years, what that means to our future of our country, and why so many countries are changing governments, and why we're paying so close attention to what our deficit and debt is this time.
Well, you mentioned Libya, and the richest guy in Libya clearly was Muammar Gaddafi. I mean, he was living high, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was absolutely detached from the rest of his country, and I had the opportunity to meet him. I went over there and toured their nuclear facility and their chemical weapons, and we were trying to arrange an agreement to get rid of his chemical weapons and get rid of them faster a few years ago. I wish we'd have been successful in that. And he was completely detached. He is, I hate to say, I mean, he comes across, at least, as delusional as a little bit touched. I mean, he just doesn't seem connected to reality and the reality around him.
Where do you meet him? And when you go to meet a dictator like that, did you go to his office? Where did it take place?
It's the oddest thing. He has a tent that he puts out in the desert, and you wait in the tent, and he says it's because of his Bedouin roots or whatever. And then he walks across the horizon, so you, like in a movie, you know how you see the desert and the thing, and it looks like it's moving, and all of a sudden you see a figure appear through the haze. That's exactly the way he did it. And then he would walk into the tent, and we'd sit on the floor of the tent and have his meeting. Now, he lives in opulence. This is all clear. It was all clearly for show, but it was a little odd, to say the least.
Wow. How dramatic. What an entrance, huh?
Yeah, exactly. The weight was a little hot, so I was hoping he'd walk a little faster.
Yeah. And then I've seen him interviewed on Larry King, and you're right. He seems like almost cartoonish. Was he that way with you, like over the top?
Yes, he is. I mean, and it was, again, I think he is so detached from reality that, and all of his sons have all the important posts around him, and they're running the government. There's no real government. Somebody asked me the other day, well, who takes over and who runs this government? There isn't really a government. There's no established constitution. There's no established government functions. He just gave it to people, like his sons, and said, here, you do this, and you do this, and you do that. So there's nothing to take over, if you will. It is going to be, Libya is going to be a real challenge when he goes, and I do think it's a matter of when he goes. I wish that we had stepped up our effort with a no-fly zone and other things that we could have done earlier, so that we could have kind of pushed him along. But when he goes, we're going to have to be helpful to make sure chaos doesn't resume in Libya for the near future.
I wonder where that Lockerbie bomber is today. I mean, he's still alive, and it's been well over a year since the Scotties released him because they thought he was going to die any day. But last I heard, he's still alive, right?
Well, he's alive and well, and was celebrated as a hero, at least by the Libyan government faction, when he returned. And so we surely would like to get our hands back on him.
Yeah, I would think so. Could Saudi Arabia be next, is the question being posed. Could really the kingdom suffer the same fate as Libya and Egypt with this turmoil?
I don't know. I don't see how you could say it couldn't. Jordan has some struggles. Syria is having struggles. Saudi Arabia, it is much more authoritarian, and it has this very strong Wahhabist element, which is the most extreme Islamic fundamentalist belief, and that's where a lot of al-Qaeda thoughts come out of. They're alive and well in Saudi Arabia, so there's a lot of ways for them to put down a uprising in a way that even Libya couldn't do. So that's the one where people are hedging their bet is can they put it down before it gets started in a place like Saudi Arabia. But everywhere, Michael, that they have certain elements, they have a large young population, they have connectivity to the internet, and they have phones, basically cell phones, at a certain percentage. All of those countries have fallen. And so Saudi Arabia has some of those elements, and I would argue we ought to be watching it very, very closely.
Well, that will really be interesting, the United States response to Saudi Arabia. Are you worried that we're undermanned when it comes to foreign policy inside the White House?
Well, I think we're, yes. I mean, it's very clear to me when you watch the events unfold that that there was no clear policy. I mean, Egypt was a great example. They were for Mubarak, then they were for the protesters, then they were for we're for Mubarak staying, but the protest. It was not handled very well. And Tunisia it came and went before they even said anything. And when you look at what happened with the Honduran president, that was mishandled. I mean, there is a whole series, the Iranian protests last year, where they were dying for the administration to take a position in support of the protesters. And I'm not talking about, there's nothing here about military action. It's all about supporting the people who are seeking freedom. None of those things happen. And when you look at Egypt, now you looked at Libya, and how long it's taken them to even start the rhetoric about why we should be for the protesters. I do think that it wasn't because they didn't have the information, Michael. They didn't know what path to take. And I think that was very, very telling in a very dangerous world.
Well, we're glad you're in the position you're in to represent Michigan as the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, and appreciate the valuable time this morning, and I know I'll see you soon.
Michael, I hope so. And remember, this is the month, St. Paddy's Day, and wherever you find 4 Irishmen, you always find a 5th.
Take that to the bank from Congressman Mike Rogers, and wherever you find a radio program, you usually find a 5th too. 35 minutes after the hour. When we come back, we're going to the Democratic side of the coin. State Senator Gretchen Whitmer will be here from the East Lansing area. She is the House Minority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, or the Senate Democratic Leader is the way they really like to say that these days. It's Michael Patrick Shields. The Spartans play tonight, 6:30 at the Breslin Center against Iowa. The Tigers won both of their split squad games yesterday. They are on a real roar down there in Lakeland, Florida, and throughout the Grapefruit League. Okay, we were going to, Gary Austin, have an Answer Man segment here. That's why I have the Answer Man hat out. But everybody knows that I'm not a misogynist. Right, Gary?
What's that?
What's that? What's a misogynist?
For those who don't know.
A guy who only thinks men are superior.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so we have.
I wanted to get your definition on what misogyny.
Well, rather than be an answer man, we have an answer woman in the studio with us.
Very good.
The Senate Democratic Leader Gretchen Whitmer is here, so we will leave the answer man aside because we're going to get answers from her. How's that sound?
I think that's a great idea.
Terrific. So, therefore, welcome back to the studio, first of all. Nice to see you.
Thank you, MPS. Good to be with you.
I understand you sent an email yesterday looking for support. You're dead set against this budget proposal from Governor Snyder, true?
Well, I'm against
parts
big
of it.
Chunks of it,
Yeah.
yes. You know, the message that the governor had throughout his campaign and the inauguration was shared sacrifice and moving all of Michigan forward. And yet he's introduced a budget that shifts $2 billion of corporate taxes onto individuals in terms of the pension tax, eliminating the earned income tax for working families and kids, and the income tax. And so I think that that's fundamentally a mistake when you're trying to move the state forward. And on top of it, there's huge cuts to education. And I heard Mike Rogers say, like in the budget process, to an exercise program. Well, I would say you don't start your exercise program by cutting off your leg. And that's what you do when you slash education. You can't move the state of Michigan forward if you're not investing in education.
Most people that I talk to say this budget proposal is, it's just a negotiating point. He just wants to shake people up and get some reforms going so that by doing this, it'll shock the system. But when I talked to the governor, he said, yeah, well, if I could push the button on it as it is, it'll work. Which is it?
I think it's a genuine proposal. I mean, I've heard all sorts of theories at the Capitol that this is the opening salvo and they'd really like to do a services tax or something of that nature. You know, I don't know. I have to take him at his word. He put something on the table. I believe he believes in it. I just think that he's wrong.
When you saw that Governor Snyder got elected and you knew this was coming, and then you saw his proposal, was it worse than you expected?
Well, you know, he's had a lot of talk about shared sacrifice. That's his phrase, you know, that he's used, moving all of Michigan forward. I went to the inauguration because I want to start a new spirit of bipartisanship here in Lansing. So I was optimistic and hopeful. And I know he's taking counsel from people like Governor Milliken, who I hold in the highest of esteem. But when he introduced this budget, it's just a huge corporate tax break. And it just shifts all these taxes onto individuals, people who can least afford it. And so, yeah, it's very disappointing to see the kind of the same old playbook come out.
But aren't there people who would say, well, we got to get business going in Michigan if we're going to create jobs, so let's not hamper business anymore?
Well, there's no question. And when the governor says jobs is job one, as he said at the State of the State, we all agree. But our business climate is 17th best in the country. You know, you can't expect business to come to Michigan if your policy is to pulverize your roads instead of repave them. I mean, you can build a fabulous new bridge, but if as soon as you come into Michigan, you're on gravel road, who's going to try to move their goods through the state of Michigan, much less locate here to build those goods? We have to have a great workforce. That's a #1 consideration when a business decides where to locate. And that means investing in your people in terms of education and training programs. And they've slashed that out of the budget. So we are all concerned about having a great business climate. Small business is going to be the engine of growth here, and that's what we need to be focused on. This budget doesn't really do much to promote that. And certainly when you shift all those taxes onto individuals and you give this huge break to business, there's no guarantee, there's no metrics to require that there are jobs that are being built or investment in Michigan.
Have you had any quadrant meetings yet?
We've had one. I've appeared a number of times with my counterparts, and I believe we have a quadrant meeting scheduled for next week.
Have you, off the record, well, I say it, I'm on the radio and
Off the
TV.
record.
I can't really do that, I guess. But, I mean, candidly then, have you had any conversations with Randy Richardville, the Republican Senate Majority Leader, about the parts of the budget that maybe he's skittish about?
Randy and I have a very good friendship, and we work well together, and I think we're both committed to doing things differently at the Capitol than our predecessors did. That, being said, we've had some beginning discussions about where we are in terms of, the public policy that members are generating and, what his view is. So we've started that process, absolutely.
They're not nuts, the Republicans, necessarily about a pension tax either, are they?
I've seen a lot of their members criticize the governor's pension tax. So, I don't know if you remember, but when I was here before the swearing in of this current session, you said, what's going to be the first big fight at the Capitol? And I said, it's going to be intra-party, and I'm not going to have anything to do with it. And I think if you read some of the insider stuff about what's happening down here, that's the case. I mean, they're struggling to figure out what direction they're going to go and whether they're going to go with the governor or they're going to have some internal issues.
But it's inevitable that they're going to disagree on something, right?
Always. I mean, that's the role of the legislature, is not to disagree, but to scrutinize and to reprioritize and ensure that the budget reflects, the vision and the priorities of the state of Michigan.
If this partial birth abortion legislation makes it, and Rick Jones introduced it, I guess there's one squabble they had too, because they said, we don't want to bother with that right now. We're focused on the economy. But Rick Jones and Arlen Meekhoff say it's close to their heart. If it comes your way, where do you stand on the partial birth abortion?
I have to take a look at it. I wasn't sitting on the committee that it came through, but my gut is, I'll take a skeptical look at it. There are always people on the where Right to Life is pushing a lot of legislation, and you always got to take a look at it. But I'm inclined to be against it.
We'll keep in close touch. Thank you very much. Travel safely tonight.
Thanks, Michael Patrick.
Senator Gretchen Whitmer, the Senate Democratic leader, at 14 before the hour. You're getting him right now on this Wildcat Wednesday, brought to you by Northern Michigan University in Marquette. Safe, clean, friendly, natural environment. The beautiful city of Marquette along the shore of Lake Superior. An awesome setting for a unique college experience. Go to nmu.edu to begin your adventure. It is 9 minutes before the hour right now. Senator Bert Johnson, the Democrat from Highland Park, is not back to work yet. You remember he had that snowblower accident last week. He is recovering. Their expectations are that he could return this week. Remember, he was doing the snowblowing job, and a pit bull scared him, and he slipped and fell, and his hand went into the snowblower. And he broke some fingers, and obviously had a you can imagine how bad that would be. Anyway, that's what we're hearing about Bert Johnson, if you were curious about it or concerned, perhaps. Next hour, we are going to be joined by Paul Eisenstein, the editor and founder of the DetroitBureau.com, about the auto business. We're also going to save you some money, too, on your taxes. Craig Godfrey from Godfrey Weisberg CPAs and Advisors. He's a Northern Michigan University graduate. I'm going to tell you which part of your taxes you need to focus on, or get your tax preparer to focus on, where you might be able to save a little bit of money. Dr. Les Wong, speaking of Northern Michigan University, is on the other end of our line this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We're experiencing March coming in like a lamb in the lower peninsula. What's it like in Marquette?
Well, right now it's cloudy, and we're going to get a dusting today, but it's been almost not very much snow this year.
Yeah, well, we know that it's a beautiful setting there along the lake in Marquette, and that the focus was on Marquette in the nation. And I understand when President Obama was with you a couple of weeks ago, we got a chance to sort of revisit that because Governor Snyder was at the White House on Sunday and Monday, and Northern Michigan University got another shout out from the president there as he addressed the governors, and Governor Snyder was very proud of that.
Oh, we were very excited to hear that. We were quite surprised he mentioned us in the Saturday radio address, and then Monday with the governor.
Isn't that terrific? So it wasn't a one-off. I mean, he must have been impressed by what he saw when he came to Northern.
Well, we were all chuckling here because he kept using the Star Trek analogy of being beamed around because we had him on our WiMAX network, beaming him to a pretty remote school.
Well, congratulations. We just love good news around here, and when we heard Governor Snyder just crowing about the fact that the president mentioned a university in his state like Northern, we had to take note. And so congratulations to you and everybody there at Northern, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
That's President Les Wong. Tell us something good. And that's something awfully good about Northern Michigan University at 7 minutes before the hour. Michigan State University's basketball team tonight, 7:30, Breslin Center. Iowa Hawkeyes coming in, and Michigan State is 16-12 overall, 8-8 in the Big Ten. Not the season that I'm sure that a lot of the Spartans had hoped for. Just imagine Kalen Lucas having gone to 2 Final Fours and one of them championship game in Detroit, and now struggling like this as he winds up his career. Tough going for the Sparties, so if you want to cheer them on tonight, it's the Breslin Center this evening. We will have a report from Will Tiemann tomorrow morning on how the game goes on this airwaves. Will we not, Amanda Wall? Pistons couldn't hold on to a 3-point lead after the third quarter. They lost to the Bucks last night, 92-90 in Milwaukee. They'll be back at the Palace to host the Timberwolves tonight. And the Tigers went ahead and won both games yesterday of their split squad scrimmages against the Phillies and the Blue Jays. Man, they are on a serious tear. Speaking of sports, Denard Robinson was mentioned on Jeopardy, I guess, just the other day. Tony Cuthbert, our audio director, saw it and loves the Wolverines. So anytime they get national attention or any attention at all, he brings it to our attention. Here's exactly what happened on Jeopardy.
I'll take athletes for 200. University of Michigan quarterback Denard Robinson, who runs a 10.4 100 meters, is known for never tying these. Kate.
What are his shoes?
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. See that? Shoelace makes it onto Jeopardy, part of the American culture. University of Detroit, Mercy. We don't have their theme song, but they're going to move on in the Horizon League tournaments. 90-69 victory over Loyola Chicago at Callahan Hall, and I mention it only because I spent part of my academic career at the University of Detroit. That's before I was Detroit Mercy. Detroit Red Wings will continue their 5-game road trip. They're in Anaheim tonight. Face off against the Ducks. They've won 2 straight. And we'll have Ken Cal's report for you on that tomorrow, along with Will Tiemann's report of the Michigan State basketball game tomorrow morning. Ohio State basketball, 82-61 win at Penn State yesterday. They're the top-ranked team in the nation and the top team in the Big Ten, and they're a tough nut to crack, the Ohio State Buckeyes, if you'll pardon the pun. Barry Bonds, not guilty is what he's saying. He's accused of lying to a federal grand jury about using steroids, and he says, no, I didn't do that. We'll find out when the proof is in the pudding. Television viewers, thanks for being with us this morning on Fox 47. We appreciate that very much. Radio listeners, stay where you are. We're on radio stations all across the state of Michigan. If you're in Lansing, it's 1240 AM WJIM for the next couple of hours. So tune in on the radio, make the transition from TV to radio. In Grand Rapids, it's News Talk 1340 WJRW. We're on stations in Mount Pleasant, Petoskey, Traverse City, Hastings, Saginaw, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, and St. Joe, Benton Harbor. So stay tuned on the radio and television. Adios, muchachos.